payments to the all capital letter name dummy corporation, you can terminate your participation in it, but you cannot terminate their obligation under the contract to the government. So Social Security, being a private corporation, has to comply with their contractual obligations to the government. But eventually, I hate to tell you this, Clay, because you're dependent on it, but Social Security Corporation is going to do the same thing that Johns Manville Corporation did when all the people sued for the asbestos poisoning. Johns Manville declared bankruptcy and paid a penny on the dollar to the people that claimed damages and injuries for the asbestos, and they went across the street and opened up a new company, exactly the same. They just bought out the old corporation and opened up across the street under a new name, Certainteed. And they're still selling shingles. Everybody's got shingles on their roof, but instead of Johns Manville, now they're Certainteed. Nothing changed. Oh, pardon me, the name changed. So one of these days, one of two things is going to happen. Either the Social Security check will not show up, or when it does show up, it will not clear the bank when you go to deposit it or get the cash for it. It'll just be a overdrawn account. Social Security will be bankrupt, and you won't get that amount of debt, IOU, private Ben Bernanke IOU notes. You won't get them.
Well, the part of the problem here is that all of our money, and we can never pay off the debt. It keeps escalating. It keeps escalating. And then we have to borrow money to pay that debt with. That's no
money to borrow.
That's a Ponzi.
There is no money to borrow. It's all debts and IOU. You cannot pay a debt with a debt. Until the government starts issuing government money, not renting private money, there is no value money. And it's going to be continually IOUs discharging IOUs, discharging more IOUs. And it just gets bigger and bigger. Why do you think you're seeing the whole thing collapse now? It's a house of cards because it's all evidence of debt. Federal Reserve notes, the word note is an IOU note, is a debt. Not money. But people have been tricked into thinking, wrongly believing, that private Federal Reserve Corporation IOU notes is money.
Ron Paul has been trying to call for an audit, but that hasn't happened.
Sure it has. Interpol conducted an audit.
Did they ever find our gold?
Well, I don't know that an audit has anything to do with gold. An audit has to do with assets and debits.
And what was the results of that audit?
Damn if I know. I'm not the one that ordered the audit. Interpol did. I suppose if Interpol did it, it was ordered by either the Queen or the Vatican or whoever Interpol works for. We don't get into that. We just try to save people within what crummy system there is left, and that's contracts and commerce code, because nobody gets charged with violating a law. They all get charged with violating a contract penalty clause code title number or a contract penalty clause code section number. So obviously they're conducting their courts under code title and section numbers, which is contract penalty clauses. It's all contract law. So we teach, do not get tricked into the acceptance trap, and then there is no contract. Then they cannot drag you into their courts. Right in their own constitution, it says the judicial branch only has authority to adjudicate cases and controversies. Well, the definition, the legal definition of a case is a controversy. So if there's no controversy, under either title, case or controversy, they do not have jurisdiction. So in order to have a controversy, there has to be a contract over which there's a disagreement or a dispute over a contract in order for a controversy to exist under either title. So there has to be a contract in order for there to be a controversy about the terms of the contract. So Howard Griswold teaches, do not fall for the acceptance trap or the appearance trap. Then there is no contract, and then they cannot charge you with a contract penalty clause code title or a section number because there's no contract. There's no penalty clause if there's no contract.
Now, what does this service cost? What does Griswold's service cost? What does this? What does a person invest into this?
There are three different steps or strategies to it, and people just go to www.escape-harassment- pardon me. Yeah, that's right. Escape Harassment with no dash and then .com, or estate-tickets-irs-court.org. Either one of those two names takes you to the same website, and there are three strategies provided. The first one is how to avoid the acceptance trap and the appearance trap, and you deprive them of the due process requirement of service of process and written notice, and there is no acceptance, there is no contract.
All right, let me see if we've got a caller here. Let me check. Hello, do we have a caller from the 918 area code?
Yes, Clay. This is Ann Glenn.
Hi, Ann. How are you?
Oh, fine, thanks.
I'm sorry to leave you on hold for so long, dear, but I've had technical difficulties here. But you're on with Dave Deriemer, and I know you've been listening, so.
You know, I know he's right on. I had not heard of this company and those websites. I had heard of Build Freedom and other websites that, and Seventh Fire that teaches how to use the UCC one and how to get your to get out from under the corporate authority. There is an affidavit of non-corporate status that an individual, live human being can use, and when they go into court to actually register a copy with the court clerk and get another copy stamped, so that if in the court, if you go into court and the judge states the name, which is an idem sonum, it sounds identical sound of your name, but it's in all capital letters, and you can then say, "I'm here on that matter, sir." And then if the judge asks you, "Well, what is your name?" then may I ask you a question, sir, about it? Yes. If I answer that, will I be in a contract with you? And a lot of times the judge will dismiss the case. Another one is if they order you, even if they don't order you to get a lawyer, you can skirt around it. They don't want you to represent yourself because all lawyers or attorneys are officers of the court. And attorneys come from England, meaning from the word attornment.
And do you have a question for Dave?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I've been into this stuff too.
Yes, ma'am. I understand that. I'll be glad to have you on my show sometime if you'd like to come on and talk about it. But meanwhile, you're a caller in to Dave Deriemer.
Dave Deriemer. Now, how do you spell that name?
It's peoples-rights.com organization. I'm not the.
Yeah.
I wish you'd stop using my name, because I'm nobody. I just push a broom around here. The people that deserve the credit are the research people behind the scenes. And the website you need today is www.escape-harassment harassment.com.
Yeah, I've got that written.
Escape-tickets tickets -I R S -court COURT.org. Those two names will take you to the same website. And strategy number one is what will keep you out of their courts. And if they ignore the due process and ignore the law and drag you into some pre-trial hearing, regardless whether it's called a child custody hearing or a mental evaluation or arraignment or whatever title they give you, pre-trial hearings, it tells you, strategy number two tells you what to say and what to definitely not say. Do not get tricked into saying and what to not say. And if they ignore the law again and ignore due process a second time and drag you into an actual court after you have performed strategy number one and strategy number two, strategy number three is the 6 disclaimers and demands, which you absolutely have a right under the due process. You have a right to demand these 6 disclaimers, and once you present those disclaimers and demands, they cannot answer, and they will dismiss your case because they cannot answer those demands and disclaimers. They'll trump up some excuse like, was the window up or down, and then dismiss the case. But that's just to fool the people in the gallery into thinking that there was something they don't understand. And because they can't admit that you've stumped them by the 6 disclaimers and demands. And that process is tried and proven, experienced process. This is not experimental. This is tried and proven, and there's a money-back guarantee that it works, and it's backed up with testimonials, written success testimonials from previous students. But you have to complete the process. You can't go start and then stop short halfway and expect something to work if you stop short.
I see. So this is how you can keep out of their jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Okay.
Well, because everything you do is contract. Everything these corporations do is by written document, and that's called a contract. The presumption is that these offers are valid offers. None of their offers are valid because the presumption is that an offer is a agreement, a meeting of the minds. And none of the fraud and deception that they do is an agreement or a meeting of the minds. They just send you the bill and expect you to pay the bill. There's no validation or justification for it. They just, Internal Revenue wants you to self-assess yourself, and they send you a ticket. They even tell you right on the ticket, you send your voluntary assessment to the voluntary assessment department, post office box something or another, and then you don't have to go to court to pay it. You can pay it by mail in advance to the voluntary assessment office.
I did it a little differently, Dave. I mean, the IRS guy came to my house, knocked on my door. I said, "Tell you what, I'm going to do something I've never done before. I'm going to let you in." And I brought him in the house, and I said, "See this house? I don't own it. See that truck out there? I don't own that. Those computers are mine, but those are tools of the trade. I'm not paying you this bogus debt that you're saying that I owe from some corporation that I left years ago. And I'm never filing another return. You want to put the cuffs on and take me in now? I will never file another return." That was 20 some odd years ago.
Congratulations. That's what we teach people to do. Exactly what we teach people to do. When these guys come to your house, I had one come to my house too, and he left papers, and I asked him for his business card, and he gave me his business card, which was the same address I already had for their office over here in the county. I knew where their office was. And I returned all those documents that he had left with me. I photocopied them for my record, returned them all to the sender or deliverer, which was him, at his office, delivery confirmation. And eventually he got tired of trying to send stuff through the mail, and he had the computer out in Omaha, Nebraska, I think it was, or San Francisco. I don't know. They've got 6 different offices around the country. Probably more than that, but 6 I'm aware of. And the computer just spits out these letters, and we began sending all the letters back in 1972. We began sending all their papers and letters back to the sender. And of course there is no court clerk in that case. But they kept on, the computer kept on and kept on. So instead of me paying postage, I began putting all their stuff in one of these priority envelopes that cost $5 or $10 for the 3-day priority. And I would put all their stuff in there and put the Internal Revenue Service's name and address, both as the sender and the receiver, and returned all their garbage to them. And of course, I'd put a 3-cent or 5 cents postage on the box or the cardboard envelope instead of the $5 or 10, whatever it was. And the post office would see there's only 5 or 6 cents postage, so they would return to sender, which was the IRS anyway. So IRS had to pay $5 or $10 to get their own garbage back. With the neutral response wording from Howard Griswold's research group that said itemized what it was that was being returned, and the third-party affidavit that it had been returned to the sender. And suddenly the computer lost interest in me. The computers, all of it, 6 or more computers, none of them send anything else to me anymore. It got to be where it was costing them more in return postage to get their own crap back.
The IRS programs their computers. They program information into their computers that says that you're a business person, you manufacture buses or firearms or such, and that's how they trick their computers into assessing you, into calling you a taxpayer.
So what? The definition of a contract has not changed. It's still offer acceptance, and if you accept whatever crap, whether you're a manufacturer or whatever, if you accept, there's a contract. If you send it back, there ain't no contract. That's the law, and that's what we teach. That's what Howard Griswold has researched, and that's why it's money back guaranteed to work, because it does. It's called, and the Bible says it's come out from the whore of fiction, Babylon, and be not a partaker with them in their sins. So all Howard Griswold is teaching is the same old law that's been stated in the Bible for years and years and years. Be not a partaker with them in their frauds and sins and defalcations and evil. And the way to do it is to come out from. Not a partaker is by delivery confirmations or certified mail returned to sender with Howard Griswold's neutral response wording. And there are 3 strategies. Strategy number 1, how to avoid acceptance trap and appearance trap. Strategy number 2, what to say if they ignore due process and ignore the law and try to drag you into a pre-trial hearing or arraignment. And strategy number 3, if they ignore due process for a second time and ignore the law again and take you to their court, it tells you the 6 disclaimers and demands that are your due process right to make those demands. And once you've made those demands, they cannot answer that. It would reveal their fraud. So they have to drop the charges or dismiss the case or strike the accusation or whatever they call it. But they'll trump up some phony excuse. Like I said, like the window was up or down, or some nonsensical BS to confuse the people, the audience in the gallery. And then they'll just say, well, this case is dismissed, or we're going to reschedule this for 3 weeks, and then we'll contact you when the date is, and they never do. It's all fluff.
They wiped out a few years back. I was trying to get some credit, and I found out I had an IRS lien for $30,000 or something like that. And I made one phone call to the IRS, and they said, "Oh, that was dropped. That was dropped. That was dropped."
Tell them to put it in writing. You have no evidence.
Yeah.
If it ain't in writing, it does not exist. Corporations work on paper. They don't have ears. They don't have vocal cords. They do not have eyes. Everything's by paper with corporations. It's called a contract. And Rod Class has got them backed into a corner where they cannot comply and prove they are obeying their own code because they're not obeying their own code. And he's got the code, rubs their nose in their own code. The one office tried to tell him they did not have jurisdiction. Rod Class pulled out the documents and said, well, right here it says your office does have a jurisdiction. And they looked at each other and said, my God, he's right, we do. They didn't even know, the dumb jerks. It took Rod Class to tell them what their jurisdiction was. He knew their job better than they did because they don't comply with their own job description in the first place. Because the corporation thinks that American people are too stupid.
Well, maybe they're right. You know, sometimes I feel like we're our own worst enemies. You know, I've been trying to bring the truth to people, bring the information that you've got to people for years, and I'm still, you know, getting slammed here and there and defamed here and there. And
well, Clay, all I can tell you is go to escape-tickets-irs-court.org and get hold of that strategy number 1 and implement the strategy, and you will discontinue participation, and you'll be able to come out from the whore of fiction, Babylon.
A large part of the dumbing down of America is in the instruction books in our school system. Where
they're not our school system. They're the government, corporation, lawyers' school system.
Whoever has control of publishing the school textbooks has control of writing the history and writing them and the content. And like in Oklahoma, they discovered a couple years ago that the Oklahoma City bombing was not in the Oklahoma history books, and so they got that changed. But it became a public matter, you know, when it came out in public. There are states now also that do not have the description of their outside borders, exterior borders, in their constitutions. I think there was about 22 of them. There may be more now. They're removing that out of their constitutions so federal jurisdiction can come in.
Well, what do you think they're doing with this highway from Mexico to Canada? They're ignoring the borders.
Oh yes, oh yes. They want to make this one nation called New Rome as a merger with Canada, Mexico, and the USA. And I heard a thing on a public news, I don't remember what station, it might have been CNN, about how in 40 years there will be the majority of newborn babies will look Hispanic or Latino.
Well, it won't matter because they're all going to be glowing in the dark from this radioactive food and the genetically modified food. They're not going to be human people anymore by that time.
Well, possibly. If we get to live that long, huh?
Well, they got it written in stone. They don't want you. They want to reduce the world's population to a manageable 500 million.
Yes. But they're trying to keep from the public the coming pole shift. That's a cataclysm that happens about every 3,750 years, something like that. 6,000 rather. And it happens that there's a planet that slingshots between its home planet and our Earth.
Yeah, we've done stories on Planet X, but and I've written stories about it 40 years ago. I think we've got greater problems coming up here. There's Jesse Ventura just did a pretty good bit on water, and you know they've been stealing water out of the Great Lakes and siphoning water out of those Great Lakes for many years, and water levels are going down. Lake mead is really down, and it's all about what right now. If you go out and buy water, I think it's more than gas.
Yeah, at least $1 a half gallon. But also, nobody's thinking about all the parking lots, for instance, in Southern California, under which there could be cisterns to catch rainwater, for instance, and then pumping stations to send it to a processing plant so they would have plenty of water.
If the plan was for you to have water. That's not the plan. That's why they're poisoning the water. You know, they're really making people sick. It's not just the taxes we got a problem with. We got genetically modified foods that already have the poisons in it. You don't even have to worry about spraying it on them.
Did you hear about the Haiti farmers who burned all the GMO seeds that the nice Monsanto Corporation had? They burned them and refused the money that they were offered. They were offered some kind of a funding.
Compensation, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the African and Asian farmers who Monsanto had to pay out millions because their frankenseeds didn't produce crops? That's happened also in the last few years.
Monsanto, no food we don't own. And it's that now we're talking about aluminum resistant. I mean, they're already putting aluminum in our water. They're putting aluminum in our snow. The snow, the floods that are flooding the rivers down there are going to have aluminum contamination.
The chemtrails, one of the things they're spraying is aluminum stearate in the chemtrails. They've got it in baking soda. They've got it in deodorants. You know, any use of it, body contact or anything. You know, like with baking soda, the aluminum in it goes into the bread or cake or whatever you're baking, or cornbread or whatever. And
I'm sure they're only doing it for your own good. You know.
It's yeah, no. Well, you know about fluoride. It was an industrial waste from the chimneys of plants in Florida. I forget what they were. I forget now what they were. The manufacturing plants were.
It's all aluminum.
And that was. It was first. It was approved as a rat poison. Then later, it was approved as a pesticide. And then no argument against fluoride was allowed when they the ADA, the American Dental Association, and others started touting fluoride as helping your teeth be stronger. And there are diseases associated with it. I don't have the article in front of me right now. But yes.
All right, and listen, thank you for your call, dear. I'm gonna let you stay listening on the thing here, but
yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay.
Thank you.
And okay, just
if anyone wants to learn how to divorce the IRS, just get that strategy number 1 from escape-tickets-irs-courts.org.
all right, give me some examples of how somebody can put this into play right now. How's it going how's it going to make a difference tomorrow? And I tell you what, hang on a second. Let me see. I think we got a caller here. Another caller. Hello, who do we have here?
Hi, Clay. My name is Mike Brunel. I'm responding to your request to schedule an interview. I'm from the Morgellons Research Group, a friend of Will Spencer's.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm doing a radio show right now, but
okay.
I will call you back here after the show's over, sir, and book you on that.
Okay. You got my number down there, or you want to give it to you?
Hold on just a second here. And I've got your number here. That's the 916 area code, right?
Yeah, 786-8254.
All right, sir. Give me your name again.
Mike Brunel.
Okay, Mike. I'll call you back.
Okay, talk to you in a bit, Clay. Thanks. Bye.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Okay.
But yeah, how is this going to? Somebody just new to this, and how is it going to? How's it going to affect them?
Well, if they want to do research and learn all that background, who, what, when, where, why, and how, then go to peoples-rights.com and start with the initial information package, and then whichever area of interest they're interested in, they can choose which one of those information packages or home study courses they want to do the research into. If they just want the answers or what to do about it right now, and then they can do the research later on, they just want to know, what do I do about it right now? And they don't care about who, what, when, where, why, or how. They just want to know what to do about it immediately. Go to escape-tickets-irs-court.org and get that strategy number 1 first to start. Okay.
All right, Dave, I really appreciate you being on. And folks, if you go to freeamerican.com, all the links are right there. All the links are available. And go, get educated, understand what we're up against. And you've described it perfectly. We're talking about one world banking here, a corporation, a whole corporation that we don't really want to comply with, do we?